Welcome to Flip's Classroom. This unit is measurement and we are looking at nets and surface area. Our learning intentions today are we are learning to find the surface area of a 3D prism. I am successful when I can find the net of a 3D prism and can calculate the surface area of a 3D prism. So here we have some 2D shapes, and if I fold them along the lines, what 3D shapes do they make? Now this is something we could print out and try at home. Now the first one, when we fold it up, we get a triangular prism. The second one, when we fold up, we get a rectangular prism, or also called a cuboid. And the third one, when we fold it all up, we get a cylinder. So a prism is a 3D shape that has a uniform cross section. So if I cut it at different points, I will see the same shape throughout it. So my triangular prism I cut up into smaller and smaller triangles. This means that the polygon on one end of the prism continues throughout that prism unchanged. And we call the distance from one end to the other the height of the prism. Now the shape at the end of the prism is called the base. It doesn't matter if it's standing upright or if it's sideways, it's always the base. And that base is a polygon. And a polygon is a 2D shape made up of straight lines. So again, I've got my triangular and rectangular prisms there. Also got a hexagonal prism. Now you'll notice we don't have the cylinder here because a cylinder is not a prism. Now nets are what happens when we pull apart the 3D prism and work out all the different shapes. So those pictures at the very start were actually nets. Now it's useful to do this, that way we can work out what polygons were used to create that 3D prism. And it'll also help us when we start calculating the surface area. So back to our triangular prism, I've laid it out flat there and we can see that we've got 2 triangles and 3 rectangles. So here we have our first example. I'm going to use that triangular prism again. Now I have a 3, 4, 5 triangle. That's a right angle triangle that has one side with 3, one side with 4, and the hypotenuse is 5. And the height of this prism is 8 centimeters. So we need to find the surface area. On the left hand side, I'm going to do my thinking. And on the right hand side, I'm going to do the writing that I'm going to show my teacher my knowledge. First step is I think I need to list all of the shapes and the dimensions of each face of the 3D prism. So here I have drawn up all of the different faces. Now I have 2 identical triangles, one for the bottom, one for the top, and we'll label that B for base. And that's our 3, 4, 5 right angle triangle. So I've got 3 centimeters for the height, 4 centimeters for the base. Now I've got 3 rectangles, each one of them are different, so I've labeled them R1, R2 and R3, and I've also labeled all of their sizes. Now this will help me with the next step. So I'm going to just put that up above so that I know that it's there, and I will continue with my thinking and my writing. So the next step is to calculate the area of each face. And I'll show this in my book by writing down all of the different equations and the answers for each of those areas. So you can see that the base is 6 centimeters squared. You can see that the rectangles are 24 centimeters squared, 32 centimeters squared, and 40 centimeters squared for that R3. So our next step is to find the total surface area, and we write that as TSA. And what we do is we add everything up. So I've got 2 bases, because I remember there were 2 triangles at the top and the bottom, plus 1 of each of those rectangles. I put that into my calculator and I get 108 centimeters squared. Now make sure that it is centimeters squared because we are looking at area here. Let's try a slightly different one. So I've got a rectangular prism here and we need to find the surface area again. And again, I'm going to do my thinking and my writing. So again, my first step is to list all of the dimensions. Now I'm only going to list 3 different rectangles here. I've got the base, rectangle 1 and rectangle 2. And the reason being is we can double all of these because with a rectangular prism or a cuboid, each side is doubled, 1 for each side. So again, I'll keep that on my page and let's calculate the area of each face. So again, I write down all of my equations so the teacher knows what I am doing. And then the next step is I find the total surface area by summing up those. Now, before I said there were 2 of each. So I've got 2 base, 2 of rectangle 1 and 2 of rectangle 2. And so I'll type that into my calculator and I get the answer of 142 meters squared. And again, I make sure that the units match up with the units of the question. Now, reflection is, how can surface area help with other subjects? Think about possibly your other technology subjects like art or woodwork or 3D printing. This might help with that. As always, like the video and subscribe for more videos on maths.